welcome to another episode of Black Sports View. Today's guest, we have Joe Wesley of GoJoeWesley.com. Before we get started, Joe Wesley is a LSU alum and a former NFL PA president, Houston chapter. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. So, Joe, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us a little bit about Joe Wesley.
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate just getting the opportunity to get on and share my voice. I think the first thing, from Mississippi, from Brookhaven, Mississippi, graduated, went to LSU, finished in 99. And so 99 was my rookie season in the NFL. And so I did 2 seasons in San Francisco, and then I did 1 season in Jacksonville. And then I also did 2 seasons in NFL Europe, of which I like to say we won the World Bowl one of those seasons. So I like to say I know Super Bowl champs, but I'm a champion of the world. so that's one thing I like to, play around with. Been married 16 years here in Houston. 17 years. Just made 17 years this year. We got 2 kids, 11-year-old daughter and a 9-year-old son. And, and then also kind of since I've been finished playing, I've been working in safety for about 15 of those years. And so now I'm transitioning out, looking to do a couple different things in business and, venture out on my own.
Okay, good. So big question here. Why did you attend Louisiana State University?
Oh, it's kind of a couple of different decision points behind it. I think, first of all, it was a great school, right? And what made it great is it's a good campus, good people, because if you look at it from a technical standpoint, it was probably the worst school out of the schools that I had. And what I mean by that is going into that school, they had already had 6 losing seasons before I attended. And so, out of my choices, I was recruited by Southern Mississippi, Alcorn, Alabama A&M, Northeast Louisiana, and who else I had? There was one more school I just can't think. Oh, and then Belhaven. I think it's Belhaven. And so I narrowed it down to my last 2 decisions was between Southern Miss and LSU. And so it kind of fitted the criteria because I wanted to be away from home, but I wanted to be close. And so between Southern Miss and Baton Rouge, they both were about 2 hours away. And so Baton Rouge just happened to be out of state, but it was close. And so it kind of worked out good. The night before I made my decision, I wrote them down on 2 pieces of paper, and I said, when I wake up in the morning, this is the school I'm going to. And whatever school I thought of first. And so when I woke up, the first thing was on my mind was LSU. And I was like, okay, let's do it. And so that's how I kind of came up with that decision to go to LSU.
Okay. Well, that kind of leads me to my next question is the recruiting part. The recruiting from Southern Miss and LSU, are you saying they were on the same lines, or you were looking more at wins and losses that kind of push you one way or the other?
So I think I have to answer that kind of 2 ways. When I look at Southern Miss and LSU, the recruiting experience was probably wasn't the same. And so what put those as my last 2 decisions, I looked at my ability to play, not so much early, but to play, within a reasonable amount of time. And so I had kind of built my ideal around playing at least my sophomore season, meaning that, if I redshirted, that would have been okay with me. And so Southern Miss, they had just come off of 2 winning seasons. They had a really great defensive coordinator, and they had some good linebackers, and they just had one of their linebackers got drafted in the 2nd round. Versus LSU, they hadn't had any good linebackers that got drafted, but they did have a good linebacking staff when I got there. And so it just kind of worked out that way in terms of, good recruiting processes and based on my ability to play within a reasonable amount of time.
During the recruiting process, when you talk about the HBCUs that recruited you, which was I think you mentioned Alabama A&M and Alcorn State. What was that experience like? That recruiting experience?
Well, it was vastly different. I tell you that much. I tell you, um, and I think I don't want to be overly negative in any kind of way, but I think at the time, um, the guy who was recruiting me for Alabama from Alabama A&M was actually from my hometown, and so they had just come off a couple of bad seasons, and they was in a situation where they were trying to get some really good players, and I just happened to be their number one target. But the challenge was they waited till the end of the recruiting process to start recruiting. And so when it comes to Alcorn, they had just graduated. Steve McNair was graduating, and then they had also graduated, what's his name, John Theory, which I had opportunity to meet later on in life. And so, the only negative I have against Alcorn is, again, they waited till the last week of the recruiting season to contact me and then come do a visit. And so I never took a official visit to Alcorn. But, if I contrast that to Alabama A&M, so they came and picked me up. The recruiting process was crazy if you compare it to the other schools that I went on visits to. So Alabama recruit came, picked me up, let's just say on a Sunday night, right? Let's say a Saturday. So they came, did a visit on Saturday. They come in, they talk to your parents, wherever you're living. So we did the talk, they made the pitch. And so his deal was he wanted me to come do a visit to his campus. And so the communication I had with him was that, look, I got to be back. I got this test I have to take Monday. If you can have me back before Monday, I'll commit to coming. And so he said, oh, no, don't worry about it. We can do it. We can have you back in 24 hours. Don't worry about it. And I said, well, look, man, I don't have any clothes. I need to get a toothbrush. He said, I don't worry about all that. We'll get all this stuff for you when we get there. So I said, okay, now. I said, you need to know now. I'm serious about this. I said it one more time. I need to be back. And so long story short, we make the trip. We get to campus. We left probably about 4 a.m., some ridiculous time this Sunday morning. And, we get to campus. The visit to the campus was actually pretty decent. Met some good guys, some very nice people. Nobody was there. And it was a pretty place to be in terms of just aesthetics. But when it came, I was looking at my clock. It was getting like 4 o'clock. And I went to the guy who was recruiting me. I said, hey, man, you told me that, he's going to be able to take me back because I got a test to take Monday. And so he blew me off. And I was confused. I was like, really? And so I asked him again. But the next time I asked him, I did it kind of not demanding, but louder. I thought maybe maybe he didn't hear me, something like that. So I said, hey, coach, you mind if I put you aside? I said, remember, I made this commitment, and you made this commitment to me based on the fact that you committed that you would take me back in time to be back for my test the next morning. And so he blew me off. But this time he said, oh, no, man, I didn't think you were serious about that. Look, just go ahead, spend the night. We'll get everything for you. And I was like, well, look, I don't have a toothbrush. I don't have clothes. And he just said, he told me don't worry about it. And so that really pissed me off. really, I was hot. And I didn't know how to respond because, I'm away from home. And then I could just call somebody to come scoop me up and get out of there. So, so they take me back the next morning. We leave up early the next morning to go back to Brookhaven. And so I had a different coach taking me back. And so all the time on the way back, the process is whoever you meet with last, they try to close your commitment to come into this college.
Right.
So whether, if the last person that I would have met with at LSU was a head coach, they're at the end of their conversation, it's always, are you going to commit? Right. Can we count on you coming? And so during the whole time, it was myself and another guy that I actually wound up going to camp with, which I didn't realize who we got to camp in San Francisco. And so, he was working on both of us, trying to get us to commit to come to Alabama. The other guy was like, I don't know. I'm kind of unsure. But by the time the guy got out, he committed. And so I knew I wasn't going to commit, but I just said, oh, yeah, man, I'm coming. Oh, no, I'm excited. You know what I mean? Right. Because, I'm an 18-year-old kid. In my mind, I'm getting the coach back because he lied to me, right? And so I told him I committed. And, the next day, which is Tuesday, I'm upset because I missed the test. I got a call to try to, get my teacher to give me the opportunity to take it. So The next day, I get a call from the big news agency in Alabama, A&M. They're saying, "Look, you're the biggest steal of the recruiting season. We heard you committed to Alabama A&M." And I said, "Well, no, I changed my mind. I'm not." and so, it was funny to me. And so maybe 15, 20 minutes later, the head coach calls me. And so he calls me, he asks me what happened and all this kind of stuff. And I said, "Well, look here, coach." I said, "I'm going to be honest with you." And I just kind of replayed the whole conversation. I said, "Look, you committed to me that you would have me back to take my test." And I said, "The 2 times that I asked you, you denied me. And I felt like you shooed me off as if we didn't have a conversation." And so I said, "This may sound silly, but it's kind of my way of getting back at you for lying to me." And I said, "I feel like you lied to me twice." And so he tried to save it. That relationship was just ruined. I probably just killed that bridge altogether. But I felt like I was vindicated.
Right.
So,
well, in this current, I guess, environment relative to recruiting and African Americans and the things that's going on now in this country, I can tell you a story about what I heard about your recruiting relative to Alcorn, because me being an Alcorn alumnus, you see my background here. I was told that every time that Alcorn was there at Brookhaven High to recruit you, you were whisked off by the coaches. They never got a chance to actually try to recruit you until the very end, once the coaches felt like that you were committed to going somewhere else anyway, either Southern Miss or LSU. So in this current climate, what kind of advice would you give a African American star athlete about his recruiting process? What would you tell him to look for?
I think the most overlooked thing is it's kind of a shame, but your coaches do have a big, I don't want to say authority, but they have a big key in your recruiting. They do control access to you by your coaches at the beginning. Some recruiters get very crafty. They can go around the coach and they can visit the high school and they can meet with the principal, and the principal can come get you, all that type of stuff. So the first thing I would say is to ensure you got a good relationship with your coach, and that you make your wishes known by telling your coach that, look, if you only want to talk to XYZ schools, be specific. If you don't want to talk to a school, be specific. And the reason I say that is that, at the time that I was coming out of Brookhaven High, my town had just like 2 years previously went through a big boycott around the rebel flag and some different things that was happening in the city. And so the reason I say this is because at the beginning of the recruiting process, I was contacted by Ole Miss. And so nothing against Ole Miss staff or anything at the time, but because of the situation, I did not want to go to Ole Miss because I felt like it would be representing the rebel flag. And so I told my coach, I'll talk to anybody, but I do not want to talk to Ole Miss, and I would not go to Ole Miss specifically for this reason. And so, he was shocked, but he understood where I was coming from after I gave him the background, which is kind of unusual at that time, because coaches, kind of had the thought where they controlled and different things. Right. So I would say, number one, be straight with your coach, be straight with your family, ensure that your family members understand your wishes too. One of the things about the recruiting process today that's different from when I was coming out is that when I was coming out, your only form of communication was the phone and any message that they pass to your coach. Now you have social media, you got Twitter, they can get you on Facebook, any other channels. And so you probably have more, barrage of messages and messaging coming at you, come to this school, and all that type of stuff. And so I would say there with my second point, or my third point is, monitor yourself. Because it's exciting week one, but 7 days later, it's like, man, I'm tired of this, because at the time I was getting maybe 4 or 5 calls like every day from different schools that was trying to figure out where they were in the process, meaning that did they have a chance? And then they call you, they talk about like the silliest stuff, how's your day at school? did you eat a good lunch? Just anything to keep you on the phone and kind of build that rapport. And I was tired of it because I was trying to focus. I wasn't the greatest student, right? And I had this one class that I needed to pass. And so I was trying to focus. Plus, I had all kind of other dynamics going on. And so, if you're an 18-year-old kid, it's an exciting process, but it does wear out on your kind of ability to be mentally, I guess, kind of fit, because it just wears you down over time. And so, it's one of the things you have to think about.
So what would be your favorite memory from your time at LSU? Your favorite.
I tell you, I was asked this on another show about a week ago, and I tell you the number one memory I have is just football memory, I should say, is beating Florida, the Gators in '97. And so at the time, they were the number one team in the country. I'm not sure. I think we was like maybe 15 or 17, something like that. And so, it was a hard-fought game. And then when we beat them, it felt like the whole world was down on the stadium with us. Everybody emptied the stands. It was loud, the loudest I had ever heard it. And it's kind of like that whole night you was walking on clouds, because
Right.
we walk out after the game. It felt like people loving on you. You go home, change clothes, go out to the bar. Everything is free, plus people
Right.
giving you stuff. Now you look handsome. Everybody think you're the most handsome guy in the world,
Right.
So it just kind of vaulted to a whole night of just a kind of euphoria type experience. And I think anybody that was a part of that team should share that memory. Hopefully, is their best memory of playing football at LSU.
Well, I actually kind of knew that that's what your answer would be. So I was really trying to get something else other than that football game, because I knew that was going to be your topic. I was trying to find something else that you might surprise me with.
Yeah.
So what did you dislike most about attending LSU?
What did I dislike most? Man, it's difficult for me to say that, because when I look on back at LSU, it was a very good experience for me, and I'll say this kind of a contrast. It was good for me because I came from a small town where you only have a black person and a white person, and so you interacted to that degree of, hey, how you doing? I'm going my separate ways. And so when I get to LSU, it was a dynamic of different people from different cities, different countries, all that type of stuff. And so it made kind of a great mix of, this is what society is like outside of your small town. And so from that standpoint, man, it was great. I think what was bad about it is that, I didn't come from a great family in terms of financial stability, so to speak. And so, it was a lot of times I was in my dorm room like, hey, man, I'm hungry. I need something to eat. I don't know what I'm going to do, or, I could have used some extra dollars to buy extra shoes or T-shirts or something like that. And so that was probably the toughest part of my college career. But I would say outside of that, it really wasn't a horrible experience for me. When I talk to some of my teammates, they always talk bad about the coaches and in different aspects. But it always felt like, this is, the way the coaches coach. I got to adapt because it's up to me to play. And as long as they're here, this is what it's going to be. So it was some of my thoughts.
So what did you learn about yourself at LSU? What did you learn about Joe Wesley at LSU?
Oh, wow. I tell you, the number one thing I think is it's kind of an egotistical response at the beginning is that, the number one thing is when I first got to campus, I was forced to realize how handsome I was, right? And the reason I say it that way is because I didn't really have a whole lot of self-esteem, meaning that, when I was in high school, I was just like, everybody that grew up with you, everybody know you, so it's not like you're getting a lot of looks from the ladies. But when I first got on campus, like the first day, I felt like I was like John Travolta or Brad Pitt or something. And I was uncomfortable with it, really, for like the first 3 or 4 months, And so, but when I got comfortable with it, my self-esteem started to grow from just kind of a personal confidence. And then when I started to play and really get better, my confidence went up through the roof. And so, I think what I really learned about myself is, having a lot of mental, what's the word, resiliency, meaning that, focus during hard times, focus during good times. I really learned that, I don't know it all, but I did learn that, character wise, character matters. I think like all young kids, when you're coming up, you do have some bad character moments, but overall, just maintaining a good character and a good reputation goes a long way because, I call back some of those advisors and counselors that are still there today. And when they talk to me, they always talk about, you was a good guy, you never did nothing that was crazy and wrong. And they can kind of compare me to some of my other teammates that was there at the time. And, I kind of don't like that, but I do, it makes me realize that how important it is for you to really maintain being a good person if you're a good person. And if you're not a good person, be a better person because your reputation carries along even after you've, left the place.
Okay. Well, you crossed something there that was going to be one of my questions at the very end of this. And so I'm going to go ahead and shoot it out there. So you can be honest. I don't know if you're going to tell me the truth. But would you have considered yourself a ladies' man at when you were at LSU?
I'll say this. I would consider myself a guy who could have been worse than what I was. And what I mean by that is that, when I felt like I was trying to date too many girls at one time, I was like, okay, that's not really my character. I need to slow down, So I would consider myself, at the time, like I said, my confidence went up because, I felt like more ladies found me attractive than I had been used to being, found attractive. And so, you can't help but be more confident when they coming at you and you're not having to chase them.
So were you feeling guilty about it, or did you feel like you couldn't handle it, or you were too inexperienced to try to do that? Being that you didn't have a lot of confidence, you couldn't have had a lot of experience in handling more than one or two women at one time. So.
So I got to go back and look at this. If we got to draw this out over a 4-year period, right? And so if you draw it out over a 4-year period, I would say, going from my freshman season to sophomore season, it's kind of like I kind of got the hang of this deal. And so, I was inexperienced, but as I became toward my senior season, or my last year at school, I was more experienced, more confident. And I realized that, it's not really, fun to try to have, 4 or 5 different girls that you try to talk to at the same time. And so I think I kind of matured in that standpoint that, even 2 or 3 is too much and it could be trouble. And, I had a couple of instances where it was trouble. So, I tried to learn from some of that.
Well, being that I know you a little bit, I kind of knew that wasn't your upbringing. Mm-hmm. So when you talk about the instructors or some of your counselors saying certain things about your character, when you have that type of character, then those are the ways that guilt factor hits you. You want to treat everybody good. You want to treat everybody right. You don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. You don't want to hurt their. So I get that. So I'm gonna move on so we won't get you in any trouble with that.
Yeah. Well, I'm in a closed door environment, so I feel good.
So who is your favorite coach, college and pro?
I start with pro. So I had a special team coach. I can't think of his real name, but they used to call him Crash. And the reason I loved him as a good coach because I think in the NFL he was probably the coach that pulled me aside and just kind of helped me to realize how the use of my talent, how I was not using it, I guess in the environment that I was in, meaning that when I got to Jacksonville, I realized that look, if I'm gonna make it, I'm just gonna be a special team player in this league. I'm not as fast as the rest of these guys, not as strong as the rest of these guys. But I was always a high effort guy. And so, I just pay attention and just try to learn that way. And so going through camp, I was making some good special teams plays. And so he pulled me to the side and told me I had a chance to make the team. But he also told me that there was a few different things that I needed to do in order to really stick out. And so what happened was, I did those things and I really stuck out. But I ended the preseason, I had a hurt shoulder, so I got released. But 4 weeks later, I got called back. And so I think he was my best, or I feel like the coach that I liked the most in the NFL. And so I think from a college standpoint, I liked my position coach, Bill Elias, just because he was just a good dude. He was easy to talk to. He had a different type of coaching demeanor, and he was able to get the most out of me with saying the least to me. And so that's kind of unusual. Most coaches, they drag you all over the place thinking that's how they get you better. But I rarely remember him, getting on my case for missing an assignment or doing something wrong. But when he did, it wasn't like he was screaming. It was kind of like, get out of here. And I was like, wow. And then he brought me to what I did wrong. And then, I'd be good to go for the rest of practice or the rest of the game preparation week. So, so it's really, it's kind of like a good moment between the two different coaches of how they was able to get the best out of my ability.
Who was your favorite teammate, college and then pro?
It's funny. So when you look at college, I think I got to say is that, you spend a lot of time with these guys. And so, when you say a teammate, it's almost kind of like, you're really talking about your friendships. You play with guys, and some guys are really great on the field to play with, but then, when you play with them, it's kind of like you really transition to friendship. And so, I think one of my great friends is Cedric Donaldson. Man, he was a great roommate and a great teammate, right? And so I still keep in touch with him till today. And then I have a lot of other good guys. One of my good friends is Roshan Matthews. Again, another great friend, a great teammate. And both of those guys was in my wedding. And then in NFL, I tell you, I didn't play with him long, but he was a good teammate, which was Ken Norton. He was a really good teammate. And what I mean by that is that, when you're a rookie, all the veterans, they treat you a certain type of way. And so when you go from your first season to your second season, they still treat you a certain type of way because in their mind, they're trying to measure, are you valuable enough that I should invest my time into you? Meaning that most guys, you get released or you get traded or all that type of stuff. And so I think what to make some a good teammate was that kind of during that time, he just kind of pulled me to the side and just trying to build a relationship, without any expectation, And so I think when I got released, I was surprised, but I knew it was coming because I ended the preseason hurt. And so, San Francisco was at a time where they needed to try to win. And so, it was kind of one of those things.
Okay. What is the biggest achievement that you're most proud of?
And what? Just kind of life, sports?
Whatever.
Okay. I think right now, being a dad, I think the biggest achievement that I'm proud of is just being a dad and just trying to be a dad of stability with my kids. Not meaning that I'm great by any stretch. I get a lot of stuff wrong. But I think, I try to get a lot of things right. I try to be patient with them when they need to be patient. My son can be a handful. Me and him got this deal. I give him a hug at night. I give him a hug in the morning when he wake up. And if I don't, he come through yelling, tell me, you didn't give me no hug. and so we try to do that. And then I try to sit down and just kind of talk with my daughter, give her attention when she needs it. And so that can be hectic because she feels like she needs it all the time. And so I think I'm proud of that. And I want to try to continue that for them as they grow up. So I think, being a dad is probably my number one achievement so far in life.
3 more questions. What is the worst decision you ever made on or off the field?
I don't know, man. I feel like, I'll put it like this, when you grow up a certain type of way, I think your moral character is something that never leaves with you, right? And I think it's a choice that you make. Either make the choice to be a good moral person, or you make the choice that I'm gonna violate my morals and just be a bad person. And so I think I summed it up in saying, I made a lot of bad moral decisions, um, you know, when I was playing sports. And I think some of those moral decisions kind of cascaded into other bad decisions. And so you kind of get to a point where you realize that, look, I done made a couple of bad decisions, and let me just kind of stop and reset and get back on a track to making good decisions. And so I would say, around morals, and
Okay.
I can't really point to one, but I could kind of point to a group of moral choices,
Okay.
that kind of made me kind of say, look, you need to straighten up, you head down the wrong path.
So, I'm not above getting somebody in trouble. So my next question is, what is the best decision you ever made on or off the field?
Uh,
Well, you better get this one right.
well, it'd be easy to say getting married was the best decision, right? I mean,
Right.
that makes everybody happy. It's easy. But I mean, that's probably my, up there with a group of best decisions. But I think that, the best decision that I made, was going back to LSU in between the time that I was trying to figure out if I was going to keep playing football or not. And the reason I say that because that really helped set me up for whatever happened after football. And so had I not, I guess, went back to LSU when I was trying to, figure out if I was going to keep playing football, I think I would be in a much worse position than I am today. And so I think going back at that time, and the reason I say this is because I was in between playing, meaning that I just got released from Jacksonville, and then I didn't have an immediate team call me. So I went like a month without a team calling me, and so I had to make a decision. And so I could have went back and just kind of kept working out. It could have been 3 or 4 months before getting called by a team, which it was. It was like, I got a call from my new agent at the time at the end of October saying that I had 2 or 3 teams that wanted to bring me in for a workout. And so at that time, I made a conscious decision to tell them, no, man, I'm here. I'm committed to finishing school, because it just helped me to realize that, I knew, I had probably achieved the maximum of my talent and my ability. And so I could keep chasing it thinking, I'm going to get a whole lot of better or get a whole lot of chances. And so I just decided to, finish that degree and give myself, a better leg once it was all said and done. So I think it worked out pretty good in that respect.
Okay. Today, who is your favorite NFL player today?
I gotta love the $500 million man,
Oh,
Patrick Mahomes.
okay.
I think he's a great player. I think he has a really good demeanor that people don't really pay attention to outside of his technical skill. Meaning that anytime a guy can throw the ball around somebody like a circle, I mean that's talent. But the thing that I notice about him is how he interacts with his teammates on the sideline and while he's playing. So that's why I really like him.
So, your head coach, LSU head coach at the time, Jerry DiNardo. What type of coach was he?
I think he was my way or the highway type coach. Everything that you did had to fall within his parameters. No leeway. Not for anybody except for a few people. Now, I mean, he did give a few people a couple chances, but for the most part, I think he was very tough and very strict. In some cases, when he probably shouldn't have been, and I think part of his personality at the time is probably what got him fired. I always say to guys that if he doesn't hire, or let me put it like this, if he agrees to rehire his defensive coordinator and rehire his offensive coordinator, he would probably still be there, or at least he would have been there 10 years. Because when you look at 97, Carl Reese and the offensive coordinator, we had finished like in the top 5 categories on offense and defense. And so going into the 98 season, we was picked to contend for the national title. Now, we was picked to do all the contention based on the defense that we ran and based on those coordinators. And so what I found out later that the reason that Coach Reese left was because the coach didn't want to give him the contract that he wanted. And so, you know, that's kind of an ego thing, right? I mean, go ahead and pay the guy, you know, why not? And so, you know, I think, you know, that was one of his detriments. And so later in life, you know, I guess he's learned it and, you know, he's doing a lot of different deals. But I think at that time, he just was, you know, a guy who believed in his own self. You know, I think he believed he was a program. But a smart coach believes that your staff is the program and you just kind of hit the shoot.
So has Joe Wesley ever been interested in coaching?
Oh, yeah. When I first finished, I really gave it a serious shot. And what I mean by that is that, so I put out a couple of calls to some of my former coaches to get references. And, you know, a couple of guys said, yeah, you know, I'll give you a reference. And so when I sat down to kind of consider, okay, so now I got the references, what is my next step? And so when I sit down, I always look forward because I always wanted to be a dad that had been around for the kids. And so when I looked into it, I understood that the time commitment and then kind of like the insecurity around, you know, if the team do good, you're here. If the team don't do good, then you're not here. Then I kind of moved away from it. And so that's kind of the reason that I didn't want to be a coach, because I know it's almost like a 24-hour commitment, you know, to win. And you only get 1 week off, maybe, you know. And so that's the reason I moved away from it. But
so you're basically saying that the family was the reason you decided. Yeah. So sometimes things in our lives that happened in the past are the reasons that we develop who we are relative to father being around. Just because a father's in the house doesn't mean that he's around, right? So your experiences with that kind of coaxed you into being, hey, look, I'm going to be around my kids. I'm going to do whatever I can to do to make it happen for my kids. So those morals that you talked about earlier in the conversation about making decisions, a lot of that stuff is embedded in you when you grow up, and you never know it until you get to be grown and have to make some decisions. And then you know, I used to wonder myself about some of my friends, how in the world I couldn't do that, what they were doing. I just couldn't, you know. So I'll get you on that. I appreciate you tonight. Mr. Joe Wesley, can you tell us about what you got going on and before we sign off?
Yeah. So you know, I'm working on I'm working, the plan is I'm working on launching potentially 2 companies. It's a startup. And so right now I'm currently in a program called the FedTech Startup Studio. And so what that program is designed is to take entrepreneurs who have licensed a NASA technology and kind of put them through the business development, customer discovery process. And so it's an 8-week program. You go through all the different facets of what they call a lean startup program, which is customer discovery, product market fit, you know, developing your revenue, value proposition, all those type of things. And then at the end of the program, you have a pitch where you pitch the different VCs. And, you know, the goal is, you know, you want to win the pitch contest and potentially get investment or some type of interest in your venture. And so, you know, I'm going through that right now with the technology that we license from NASA. And then kind of my passion project is that I'm researching to launch a company for college athletes to bring athletes and advertisers together. And that one is just kind of a passion out of, you know, being a college athlete and kind of understanding what it means to be an athlete and to have this level of fame that you can't capitalize from. And so one of my philosophies is that, you know, an athlete can capitalize on his fame today and put some away and still earn on it in the future. And so that's what I want to try to help bring to college athletes and allow them to do that.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate the time.
Thank you. And I appreciate you having me on.
Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thanks.